G'day guys, I'm Dean from Blog for the Blood God.
And I'm Dalton from Risky Rollers.
And we were able to get our hands on an early release codex of the Chaos Daemons. So we're going to be going through that with you guys today, and we're going to be basically previewing the codex in its entirety. Now, this video is going to be broken up into 4 sections, one for each Chaos God. So we're going to be going through all of those. So if you're watching this video and you're like, oh, this is all just Slaanesh stuff, where's my corn love? Make sure you check out the other videos on my channel, because we're going to be breaking it down to try and make it so that we don't have one 4-hour-long video, right? Make it digestible. So, yeah, with that being said, we're just basically going to be going through and reading it. We're not going to be providing too much opinion and too much commentary, because it's going to take a little bit of time to sort of digest all these changes.
Process
and the
it,
new
try
rules,
it out,
you know.
get it on the table and really fuck some guys with it. So,
yeah, so if we're going to start with just a general sort of preview. And then once we've digested it a little bit and we've got some feedback from you guys and we've got some community ideas going around and, you know, some ideas happening, we'll then be doing some more detailed tactical content. We'll jump on the Risky Rollers channel, do some battle reports with these boys. So
got a lot of demons on the way.
So yes, there's going to be some really interesting content coming out soon. But for now, this is a preview of the Chaos Daemons Codex.
Let's get into it.
Blog for the Blood God.
Alrighty guys, welcome to the second installment of our Chaos Daemons preview. We're going to start this one off with a quick apology. Dalton has fouled and he got something wrong in the corn one.
I did indeed. I believed that the first save characteristic on the demon save profile was for ranged and the second one was for melee. It is the other way around. The first save is the melee save. And the second one is the ranged.
So those who
I owe Dean at tenner.
Yeah, and so those who watched, we actually put a $10 bet on the line. So
did indeed.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll cash that in next time we're at an event. You can buy me a beer instead.
That sounds all right.
All right, so we're going to go through Nurgle now. So let's go through the points cost first. So I'll go through the HQs. We've got Epidemious, he's 90 points. Great Unclean one is 300 points. And then his exalted abilities are the Bountiful Gifts for 25, Hideous Visage for 20, Revoltingly Resilient for 30. Then we've got Horticulus Slimex, which is the snail, I believe.
It's very cool that's been brought across to 40k.
It is interesting, yeah. They've done a lot of that stuff. 140 points for that lad. Then you got the Pox Bringer, he's 90 points. Rotigus is 320, that's your named Greater Demon. The Sloppity Bile Piper, 85 points, and the Spoil Pox Scrivener is 100 points.
Over in troops, you have Nurglings, which are 3 to 9 models at 20 points per model, and Plague Bearers, which are fixed at 10 models for 150 points.
In elites, you've got Beasts of Nurgle. They're 1 to 3 models, and they're 80 points a pop, so that's pretty expensive. That's almost Obliterator level expensive, so yeah.
It's only 10 points off. Over in Fast Attack, you have Plague Drones at 3 to 6 models at 45 points per model.
And then in Fortifications, they have their Feculent Gnarl, the tree, for 75 points. Alright, let's just scroll down, see if we can find some Nurgle-specific Warp Storm stuff. So basically, they've got a 4 Warp Storm point ability called Swarming Insects. Use this effect at the start of your fight phase until the end of the phase. Each time a Legiones Demonica Nurgle model from your army makes a melee attack, add 1 to the hit roll.
The next one is Plague of Rust for 2 Warp Storm points. Use this effect at the start of the fight phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a Legiones Demonica Nurgle model from your army makes a melee attack against an enemy vehicle unit, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 1.
And then last but not least, we have the Wave of Sickness for 2 Warp Storm points. Use this at the start of your shooting phase. Roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 12 inches of 1 or more Legiones Demonica Nurgle units from your army. On a 6, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. So, now we're going to bear with me while I scroll down and find our Nurgle stuff. So, the copy of the book that I have is frustratingly not in order, so...
Much like the actual books that will be sent out.
Alright, so we've got Exalted Great Unclean ones. So the same as the Exalted Bloodthirsters, you can basically upgrade as many as you want into this, but you can't use the same ability more than once, and you can't do it on named characters. The first one is 25 points for Bountiful Gifts. So at the end of each battle round, if this model is on the battlefield, you can retain up to 2 unspent Warpstorm points. Not too bad.
The next one is Hideous Visage for 20 points. The model has the Hideous Visage aura. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of models in that unit, and subtract 1 from the combat attrition tests taken for that unit.
And then we have Revoltingly Resilient. So this is 30 points. So this is the most expensive one. Each time a melee attack is made against this model, subtract 1 from that attack's damage characteristic to a minimum of 1.
So disgustingly resilient.
Yeah. Now we've got some Nurgle stratagems to talk about. Revolting Constitution. So this is 1 or 2 CP. Use this stratagem when a Plague Bearer's unit from your army is selected as the target of an attack. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack is made against that unit, an unmodified wound roll of 1, 2, or 3 always fails. If the unit has a power rating of 12 or more, the stratagem costs 2, otherwise it costs 1, so transhuman.
Very nice. The next one is Chortling Moraine for 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase. Select 1 enemy unit within 6 inches of a Sloppity Bile Piper model from your army, and roll 1d6 for each model in that enemy unit. For each roll that exceeds that model's toughness characteristic, that model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound. A unit can only suffer a maximum of 6 mortal wounds per phase as a result of this stratagem, and you may only use this stratagem once.
Alright, so we've got Pestilent Inspiration, 1 CP. Use this stratagem at the start of your psychic phase. Select 1 Demon Nurgle Psyker unit from your army until the end of the phase. That model knows all of the psychic powers from the Warp Rot discipline.
Very nice. The next one, Relics of the Great Garden for 1 CP, is your standard add a relic to another Nurgle character.
So I'm guessing every god's going to have one of those. Next we have Slime Trail, 1 CP. So use the stratagem at the start of your opponent's movement phase. Select 1 Beast of Nurgle or Snail unit from your army. Each time an enemy unit within engagement range of that unit is selected to move, roll a d6, and on a 4+, that unit cannot fall back this turn.
Interesting. The next one is Swarming Flies for 2 CP. Use this stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase. Select 1 Legiones Daemonica Nurgle unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time an enemy model makes an attack against this unit, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll. Worth pointing out here as well, this is your opponent's shooting phase or any fight phase, so it can be in yours.
Correct. That's pretty cool. Use this stratagem. So the next one's called Crushing Bulk for 1 CP. Use this stratagem after Plague Drones, Beasts of Nurgle, or a Great Unclean one from your army finishes a charge move. Select 1 enemy unit within engagement range of that unit and roll a d6 for each model in the charging unit, adding 3 to the result if it was a Great Unclean one. On a 6+, it's d3, and on a 9, it's d3 plus 3 mortal wounds instead. So similar to the Blood Crusher charge one.
Very nice. And then the final stratagem is Plague Banner for 1 CP. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Legiones Daemonica Nurgle Icon unit from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, on an unmodified wound roll of 6, that attack inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target and the attack sequence ends. Each unit can only suffer a maximum of 6 mortal wounds as a result of the stratagem in each phase. It's also worth mentioning on the note of stratagems that much like the Khorne stratagems, you gain access to these if you have any Legiones Daemonica Nurgle units in your army, not if your whole detachment is Nurgle.
Alright, now let's look at the Nurgle specific psychic discipline. It's called Warp Rot discipline. So the first power is called Stream of Corruption. It's a Witchfire. It has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, the closest enemy unit within 12 and visible to the Psyker suffers d3 mortal wounds. If it contains 11 or more, it suffers d3 plus 2 instead. So it's just a slightly buffed up smite.
Interesting. The next one is Fleshy Abundance. This is a blessing and has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, you select 1 friendly Legiones Daemonica Nurgle core unit within 18 inches of and visible to this Psyker. Until the start of the next psychic phase, of your next psychic phase, add 1 to the toughness characteristic of models in that unit.
Fleshy Abundance. That's seems suitable for me. Fucking, I'm a fatty. You can't see me, so you didn't see me rub my tummy when I did that. So that was purely for us.
It was a lovely little moment we had here in the studio.
All right, next up we've got Nurgles Rot. It's a Witchfire. It's a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, roll 2d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of the Psyker. If the result is higher than the highest toughness characteristic of the models in that unit, then the unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. If the result is at least double the toughness, they suffer d6 instead. Holy fuck. That's spicy. All right,
the next one is Shriveling Pox. This is a malediction and has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of and visible to the Psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, subtract 1 from the toughness characteristic of models in that unit. So a nice opposite to Fleshy Abundance. You've got +1 to yours and -1 from your opponents.
That's going to create some interesting swings, I reckon. Virulent Blessing is next. It's a blessing, funnily enough. It's got a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select a friendly Nurgle core unit within 18 inches invisible to Psyker. Until the start of your psychic phase, add 1 of the damage characteristic of melee weapons models in that unit are equipped with.
Ooh, that could be very nice.
Mighty spicy.
And the final psychic power in the Warp Rot discipline is the Malodorous Pole. Malodorous Pole is a malediction, has a warp charge value of 8. If manifested, select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of and visible to this Psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, that enemy unit cannot perform actions, and if they are currently performing an action, it immediately fails, and loses the objective secured ability.
Whoa,
that's very spicy.
Being able to take away objective secured is one of the most underrated abilities, I reckon.
It's incredible.
It's so much better than giving it to yourself. Being able to take it from them is so fucking powerful. Okay, cool. Let's go through the Nurgle Warlord traits. So the first one is called Heaving Mass, which is also a fitting description for me right now. To add 2 to the Warlord's wounds characteristic.
The second one is Acidic Ichor. Each time this Warlord loses a wound as a result of a melee attack made by an enemy unit, after the attacking model's unit has finished making its attacks, roll 1d6. On a 4+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Each unit can only suffer a maximum of 6 mortal wounds per phase as a result of this ability.
Alright. Virulent Touch. Each time this Warlord makes a melee attack, excluding attacks made against Titanic units, if a hit is scored, that attack automatically wounds the target. That's pretty spicy.
Wow. The next one is Plague Fly Hive. This is an aura with a 6-inch range. Each time a model in a unit in range makes a melee attack, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll. That unit cannot start to perform any actions. This is, of course, for enemy units.
Yeah, it's pretty spicy. Overflowing fecundity. You're such a fecundant. What the fuck does fecundity mean? Oh, that's so funny. That's broke me. Why would they name it that? Alright, so this one is each time an attack is made against the Warlord, an unmodified wound roll of 1, 2, or 3 automatically fails, irrespective. So it's just transhuman.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's also fecundity. What a word. I need to Google that after this and find out what fecundity means. Oh, shit.
The final Warlord trait is Pestilent Miasma. At the start of the fight phase, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within engagement range of this Warlord. On a 2 to 5, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound, and on a 6, that enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds.
Ooh, spicy. Alright, now let's talk about their relics available to the followers of Nurgle. So we've got Horn of Nurgles Rot. Each time the bearer is selected to fight after its attacks have been resolved, you can select 1 friendly Plague Bearer's infantry core unit that is wholly within 18 inches of the bearer to be replenished. Roll a d6 for each enemy model that was destroyed by the bearer for this phase. For each 4+, you can return 1 model to that Plague Bearer unit with full wounds remaining to a maximum of 3 per turn. These models cannot be set up within engagement range of enemy units unless those units are already within engagement range of an enemy unit. Each unit can only be replenished once per turn. So basically you kill things and turn them into Poxwalkers. Plague Bearers, sorry.
That's kind of cool, depending on what it's mounted on.
Yeah.
The next one is the Entropic Nell. In your command phase, select one enemy unit within 12 inches of this model. Until the start of your next command phase, enemy units cannot benefit from that enemy unit's aura abilities.
Ooh.
For the purposes of determining which player controls an objective marker, treat the number of models in that unit as half its current number, rounding up.
Interesting. Tomb of 1000 Poxes. It's a Psyker model only. The bearer knows an additional psychic power from the Warp Rot discipline, and each time the bearer attempts to manifest a psychic power from the Warp Rot discipline, if the result of that psychic test is a 7, it cannot be denied. So it's not a 7+, it's just a 7. So if you pass on an 8, you can be denied, but a 7 specifically can't be.
Which is the most likely result in 2 dice.
It is. I can't remember I think it's like a third or something like it. It's really high, like 25% or something like that of 7s. So the next relic is called Corruption. Just that. Just Corruption.
Not Corrupted Blade.
That seems lazy on GW's part. They're just like, fuck it, Corruption. Corrupt what? Just Corruption.
It's just Corruption. Select one melee weapon the bearer is equipped with. Add 1 to the damage characteristic of that weapon. Each time an attack made with that weapon is allocated to a model, that model cannot use any rules to ignore the wounds it loses, and that weapon is now considered to be a relic for all rules purposes.
Cool. So I think Khorne had a similar one, didn't they?
They did. It's almost like just a custom, pick a character, make their weapon this type of relic.
I'm not even going to fucking try to pronounce this next one.
This is where all the creativity from Corruption went.
Yeah, they picked this next relic. I swear to God, they picked up a handful of Scrabble tiles and just threw it, and then that was it. Or they punched their keyboard and whatever came out.
Effluvior.
Effluvia. Effluvior. Effluvia.
Maybe
it probably means
effluent?
something. It probably means something, or it's probably like GW where they take a normal word and just
some pseudo-Latin sort of construct.
Either way, so it's a model equipped with a Plague Flail, and it basically replaces that with a 7-inch range, assault 3d3, strength +1, AP3, 3 damage attack. So that's actually a fair few.
Shit.
Yeah, that's good. And each time an attack is made with this weapon, excess damage it inflicts is not lost.
So it's a ranged Plague Flail.
Yeah. And it's 3d3. So you could get 9 shots that are 3 damage spilling over.
Which is still good.
You could get 3, but yeah.
But they're going to be all strength 5 at least.
That's pretty spicy. I like that.
Wow.
I normally don't like relics that replace, because this is a 7-inch range guns, right? It's like essentially their pistol relics.
It's replacing a melee weapon.
Is it replacing a melee weapon, or is it replacing the Plague? Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Let's talk about
the final one is the Endless Gift. At the start of your command phase, the bearer regains up to a number of lost wounds equal to the current battle round number.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you start. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Let's talk about some Nurgle data sheets now. So we're going to go through Horticulus first. So he's 7-inch move, weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 3. He's strength 7, toughness 9. Toughness 9 with 24 fucking wounds. Jesus. Wow. 6 attacks. He's got a 5-up in melee and then a 4-up against shooting. He's equipped with Brackish Filth, Fanged Maw, Nile Rod, and Nurgle Claws. So, what was it? Blackish. That's not even listed there.
Streams of Brackish Filth is the first thing listed.
So, I'm bad. So it's a 12-inch assault 2d6, strength 6, AP3, 1 damage, automatically hits, so Flamer. Then he's got the Fanged Maw, which is his melee attacks, which are just strength, they'll be strength 7, AP1, 2 damage. This is Malefic 1, which means he actually only gets to make a single attack with that profile.
In addition to his normal attacks.
In addition, yeah. Then he's got the Nile Rod and the Nurgling Claws. So the Nile Rod is basically it's got 2 weapon profiles, so he's either going to be hitting you at strength 8 AP 3 damage, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds, or he's going to be hitting you at strength 7 AP 2 with a single damage and making 2 hit rolls. And then he's got the Nurgling claws, which are strength 2, no AP, 1 damage, but malefic 7. So he's going to be making an additional 7 attacks with that. So that means he's going with 7 attacks from that, another from the Fanged Maw, and then another 6. So he's going in with a lot of attacks, this lad. As for abilities, he's got the Deluge of Nurgle. So he basically, every time he manifests a psychic power successfully, if the psychic test was a 7+, after resolving that psychic power, the closest enemy unit within 24 suffers D3 mortal wounds. So he gets an additional smite on top of every power.
Very nice.
And then he's got the Demon Lord of Nurgle, which is a reroll hit rolls of 1 for friendly Nurgle within 6. And he can cast 2 psychic powers and deny 2 psychic powers. So it's pretty cool, because he's essentially getting 2 free smites. And if one of your powers is a smite, he's going to be doing 3d3 mortal wounds in the psychic phase.
Plus, not bad warp fire on the warp point sword.
So he could be potentially going in and doing 4 to 5 d3 mortal wounds. So
very
that's
nice.
Pretty cool.
So the next is the generic version, the Great Unclean one. They move 7 with a 2+ to hit in melee and a 3+ at ranged. Strength 7, toughness 9, 22 wounds with 6 attacks, and a 5+ save in melee and a 4+ at range. They come stock with a Plague Flail, Putrid Vomit, a Bile Sword, and Nurgling Claws. The Plague Flail is a 7-inch Assault D6 +3 weapon with Strength user, so Strength 7, AP -3, 2 damage.
I believe that's the one that the Relic replaced.
Okay, so it is a ranged weapon then, which is interesting.
That being said, this is actually a pretty spicy ranged weapon. So the upgraded one is very, very good, but it is replacing a decent weapon at the start. So
that's true, yeah. It also has a Putrid Vomit, which is a 12-inch Assault D6, Strength 5, -2, 1 damage Flamer. It has the Bile Sword, which has the Mighty Strike and Sweeping Blow profiles. Mighty Strike will hit you at Strength 8, -3, D6 damage, hit rolls of 6 automatically wound. And the Sweeping Blow will hit you at Strength 7, -3, 1 damage, but with double the number of attacks. And then the Nurgling Claws are again Malefic 7, Strength 2, no AP, 1 damage. You can upgrade the Bile Blade to a Doomsday, sorry, the Bile Sword to a Doomsday Bell, and the Plague Flail to a Bile Blade.
Jesus
Christ. The Bile Blade replaces the ranged Plague Flail with a melee weapon that will be hitting with Strength 7, -3, 2 damage, with full rerolls to wound. And the Doomsday Bell is a melee weapon with Strength 8, -1, 2 damage. They also have other abilities. The Bile Blade then lets you select a model, select this model to suffer 1 mortal wound in order to add 1 to a psychic test. This is before you take the test.
So he carves a little bit of his own flesh out, and
yeah,
it's interesting.
It's kind of cool. And the Doomsday Bell, in your command phase, you can select 1 friendly Plague Bearer's core unit within 12 inches of the bearer to be replenished. You return 1 destroyed model from that unit to the battlefield with full wounds remaining. If that unit is an infantry unit, you return D3 destroyed models instead. These models may not be set up in engagement range unless that unit was already within engagement range, and each unit may only be replenished once per turn. This unit also then has the Demon Lord of Nurgle aura, which is a 6-inch aura of reroll hit rolls of 1. It knows 2 psychic powers and can deny 1. Yeah.
Oof, what a mouthful. That's a lot of abilities there. All right, next we're going on to the Pox Bringer. So your Herald of Nurgle, he's got a 5-inch move, weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 3, strength 5, toughness 6, 6 wounds, 3 attacks, 5 up, 4 up for his saves. Here's the Foul Bale Sword, which is going to be striking at strength 5, AP 3, 2 damage, and 6 is automatically wound. His abilities are the Herald of Nurgle aura, which is a reroll wound rolls of 1. And the Pox Bringer, which is in your command phase, select a Plague Bearer's core within 6 inches, and each time a model makes a melee attack, an unmodified wound roll of 6 adds +1 to the damage. And he's a Psyker who can do cast 1, deny 1. Pretty straightforward.
Then you have the Spoil Pox Scrivener. This is one of the special unique Nurgle characters. It moves 5, hits on 2s in combat and 3s at range, strength 5, toughness 6, 6 wounds, 3 attacks, with a 5+ against melee and a 4+ against ranged. They have Disgusting Sneezes, which are a 6-inch Assault D6, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage flamer. A Distended Maw, which is hit you at strength 6, -1, 3 damage combat attack. That's Malefic 1, so you have 1 additional attack with this. And a Plague Sword, which is going to be hitting you at strength 5, -2, 1 damage, with hit rolls of 6 automatically wounding the target. They also have the Herald of Nurgle Aura, which is the reroll 1s to wound for friendly Nurgle core units within 6. And the special rule, Keep Counting, meet your quota. In your command phase, select 1 friendly Plague Bearer's core unit within 6 inches of this model. Until the start of your next command phase, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to that attack's hit roll, and that unit has the objective secured ability. If that unit already has the objective secured ability, then for the purposes of determining which player controls an objective marker, each model in that unit counts as 2 models.
Oh, spicy.
Cool.
Alright, now Epidemious. He's got a 5-inch move, weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 3, strength 5, tough 6, 9 wounds, 4 attacks, with a 5-up, 4-up for his demon save. His Foul Bale Sword, so that's the same one we mentioned before, so it'd be strength 5, AP 3, 2 damage, with 6 auto wounding. And he's got Nurgling Claws, so he's got another 7 attacks at strength 2, AP 0, 1 damage. And then his abilities are, he's got the Herald of Nurgle for the reroll 1s, and he's got Tally of Pestilence. While this model is on the battlefield, keep a tally of how many enemy models are destroyed by attacks made by Nurgle units from your army. At the start of the battle round, if there's more than 7 marks on that tally, after making a Warp Storm roll, gain 1 additional Warp Storm point, and reset the tally to 0. If this model is destroyed, any marks on that tally are lost.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Then we have the Sloppity Bile Piper, which moves 5 inches, hits on 2s in combat and 3s at range. Is strength 5, toughness 6, 6 wounds, 3 attacks, with a 5-up in melee and a 4-up against ranged. They have the Marotta weapon, which is a melee bagpipe.
Fucking hell.
Which will hit you at strength 5, no AP, 1 damage, with hit rolls of 6 automatically wounding.
Makes sense, it is a fucking bagpipe. You don't expect much AP out of a bagpipe.
They also have the Herald of Nurgle Aura, which is friendly Legiones Demonica Nurgle core units within 6 inches, reroll wound rolls of 1. They have the Jolly Gut Pipe special rule, so in your command phase, select 1 friendly Great Unclean One, Nurglings, or Plague Bearer's core unit within 6 inches of this model. Until the start of your next command phase, add 1 to the move characteristic of models in that unit, and add 1 to the advance and charge rolls made for this unit.
Not bad.
Whether or not it's inspiring them with his bagpipes, or just telling them to move away to get out of
Everyone's
hearing
just
range.
running away because he's fucking deafening and bad.
Yeah. It also has the Disease of Mirth special rule. In the morale phase, you can select 1 enemy unit within 12 inches of this model and roll 3d6. If the result is greater than that enemy unit's leadership characteristic, select one of the results below to take effect until the start of the next morale phase. Each unit can only be selected for this ability once per phase. The selected unit cannot perform actions, and immediately fails one if it is currently performing one. And or the selected unit loses the objective secured ability.
Oof. Another ability to take away.
A few ways to fiddle with that.
I like to think of these sloppy bile pipers as like those street performers that are asking for your money and they're always in like disheveled clothes and you're like, you're just gross, get away from me. Like, that's what a sloppity bile piper is, fucking a demonic version of those cunts. Okay, we're going into the Horticulus Slimex, which is your snail riding motherfucker. He's got a 5-inch move because he's on a snail. It should be even lower, really. It's
a big snail, though.
It is a big snail. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 2, strength 5, T7, 9 wounds, 4 attacks, 4-up save in both melee and ranged. And he has a few different war gear options here. So he's got the Acidic Maw, which is strength 7, AP 4, 3 damage, but he can only make 2 attacks with that weapon. And then he has Looping Shears, which is strength, you're striking at strength 6, AP 3, 2 damage, and 6 is to wound automatically, 6 is to hit, sorry, automatically wound. Then his abilities, he's got the Herald of Nurgle for your reroll 1s to wound. He's got Beast Handler. In your command phase, you can select one friendly Beast of Nurgle or Plague Drone unit within 9, and in the start of your command phase, until the start of your command phase, you can reroll charge rolls for that unit, and you can add 1 to the attack's hit roll. And then he's got Seed the Garden of Nurgle. At the end of your movement phase, if this model is wholly within an area terrain feature, you can select for that area terrain feature to be seeded. Oh god, Jez is gonna fucking love this. Okay. Oh god. If you do so until the end of the battle, enemy units treat that area terrain feature as if it had difficult ground terrain trait. And each time an enemy unit ends any type of move, excluding pylon or consolidation moves, within that area terrain feature, roll a d6 on a 2+, they suffer d3 mortal wounds. So this guy basically rolls around getting fucking ruins pregnant. Solid. Makes sense.
Finally, out of the HQs over to troops, we have Plague Bearers, the eponymous Nurgle troops. Come in units of 10, they move 5. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 4+, strength 4, toughness 5, 2 wounds, 2 attacks with a 5+ in melee and a 4+ at ranged. They all have plague swords, which is going to be hitting you at strength 4 -2, 1 damage with hit rolls of 6 automatically wounding. And you can upgrade 1 to carry a demonic icon and 1 to carry an instrument. There must be different ones. The icon bearer gives the unit the icon keyword, and then the unit ignores combat attrition test modifiers. And the instrument gives the unit the instrument keyword and adds 1 to the leadership characteristic of models in the unit.
Okay, so it looks like the icons and instruments are going to be the same regardless of your demonic allegiance. Alright, now we've got the Nurglings, everybody's favourite. So squads of 3 to 9, 5-inch move, weapon skill, ballistic skill 4, strength 2, toughness 3, 4 wounds, 4 attacks. They got a 6-up in shooting and a 6-up in melee and a 5-up in shooting. So
that checks out.
And then their melee attacks are strength user, so strength 2, AP 0, 1 damage. An unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds though. So
that's alright.
That's kind of cool. And their abilities are Bothersome Scamps. Each time an attack is made against this unit, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll.
Very nice.
That's quite bothersome.
Yeah.
And Mischief Makers. During deployment, you can set up this unit anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from your opponent's deployment zone and enemy models.
So they've still got their infiltrate rule.
Yeah, very valuable. Very, very valuable.
This is cool.
And then you got Tired of Tiny Bodies. If your army is Battleforged, this unit cannot be selected to fill a compulsory battlefield slot in a detachment. We haven't seen that before.
No, that's very cool. I'm really happy that that's a thing.
Yeah, so it's an interesting take on like how the, cultists, for example, in a CSM, it's like you can't take more cultists than you have core infantry.
Yeah.
That's one way that they've tried to limit the spamming of the, the prattle units. This
almost feels like Horus Heresy, where they've got a lot of rules that work like that.
You know what this feels like to me? This feels like 10th edition.
Could be.
All right, let's get into the next one.
All right, Beasts of Nurgle. Now, these guys have been previewed, but there's a bit more on the data sheet than what we've seen already. So they come in units of 1 to 3. They move 6 inches, hit on 4s, strength 6, toughness 6, 7 wounds, 6 attacks, with a 5 at melee and a 4 up at ranged. They have Putrid Appendages, which will be hitting at strength 6 -2, 2 damage. Hit rolls of 6 inflict 2 mortal wounds on the target and the attack sequence ends.
Oof.
So even better than automatically wounding, it's just 2 mortal wounds.
That's pretty spicy.
So they have the Attention Seeker rule. This unit is eligible to perform heroic interventions as if it were a character unit. This unit is eligible to perform a heroic intervention if it is within 6 inches horizontally and 5 inches vertically of any enemy unit instead of 3 inches and 5 inches, and they can move up to 6 inches as a part of this move.
I always thought that the attention seeker rule would force them to like create a podcast or a YouTube channel or something like that, or run tournaments so that everybody has to pay attention to them.
They also have the Grotesque Regeneration rule. At the end of each phase, if a model in this unit has lost any wounds but was not destroyed, that model regains all of its lost wounds.
That's fucked.
That is fucking grotesque. That's just rude.
Yeah.
They also have the Gooey Demise rule. Each time a model in this unit is destroyed, roll 1d6 before removing it from play. On a 6, it explodes, and each enemy unit within 3 inches has 1 mortal wound. I love it. More explosions is good.
People online are talking up about these guys, how they're fucked. I actually, having read the full data sheet now, I actually don't think they're that fucked.
They're not super cheap either.
Very expensive.
80 points.
And they don't really do much. You know, like they do a little bit, but it's like, for their points, I think you'd want them to do a bit more than that.
These guys in Chaos Spawn are going to be a huge pain in the ass to deal with.
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be builds that'll lean on them, but yeah, we'll see. Plague drones are up next, so you can take them in essentially units of 1 to 6. Sorry, it'll be 3 to 6. You got 10-inch move, weapon skill, ballistic skill 4, strength 5, T6, wounds 5, 2 attacks, 5 up in melee, 4 up in shooting, and they all have death heads and foul mouth parts. Fucking. Somebody was just describing their ex-wife when they wrote all this shit. Foul mouth parts. Fucking hell. Alright, so death heads are a 12-inch range, assault D3, strength 4, AP 1, 1 damage blast. Foul mouth parts are a melee, strength 5, AP 2, 2 damage, malefic 2. So they only get to make 2 attacks with this. And then we've got a Plague Sword, which is going to be Strength User, which is Strength 5, AP 2, 2 damage. And
1 damage.
Sorry, 1 damage. And 6s automatically wound the target. And then there's a thing called a Prehensile Proboscis.
Which replaces the foul mouth parts, the drone.
Yep, good man. He's reading ahead. So we've got Strength 4, AP 2, 1 damage, Malefic 4. So you basically double the amount of attacks, but you get less damage and strength on those attacks if you replace that. They got their icon and their instruments, and their war gear options are an icon, an instrument, and any model's foul mouth parts can be replaced with the Prehensile Proboscis.
The Feculent Gnarlmaw, the fortification, the pointy tree, has a movement of dash, doesn't hit, doesn't shoot. Strength 6, toughness 7, 9 wounds, with a 4+ in melee and a 3+ at ranged.
Spicy 3 up in vital save.
That's quite, well, demon save, even better.
That's even better, yeah.
They have the Garden Grows ability. During deployment, when you set up this unit, it can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from your opponent's deployment zone and any enemy models, which I believe exempts it from the usual fortification rules of being away from terrain.
I'm not 100% sure on that one.
It'd be an interesting one to look at.
Yeah.
It has the Sickness Blossoms rule. At the start of each turn, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within engagement range of this model. On a 2 to 5, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. If any enemy models are destroyed as a result of these mortal wounds, gain 1 Warpstorm point.
Not bad.
Has the Shroud of Flies aura. While a friendly Legiones Daemonica Nurgle unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time a ranged attack is made against that unit, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll.
Cool.
The Plague Bell's Chime is its final ability. In your command phase, you can select 1 friendly Plague Bearer's Infantry core unit within 6 inches of this model to be replenished. If you do so, roll 7d6 for each 6, return 1 destroyed model to that unit with its full wounds remaining. These models cannot be set up within engagement range of any enemy units, unless those units are already in engagement range of it, and each unit can only be replenished once per turn.
There's lots of different ways to regenerate, but they are all capped, so that's interesting. So that rounds out our coverage of Nurgle, Grandfather Nurgle. So we're going to jump into the next Chaos God now. Make sure you check out our Khorne video if you've missed it, and we're going to be doing one for each Chaos God going forward. So we'll hit you guys back soon.
Look for the Blood God.
Alrighty guys, I hope you enjoyed that section of my Chaos Daemons Codex preview. Now, I want to say a huge shout out and a huge thank you to Dalton from the Risky Rollers team for coming over. It's currently 2:30 in the morning and he's spent the whole night here helping me go through this codex and bring this preview to you guys. So I want to say a huge thank you to him. And I also want to say a huge thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon. You can sign up for only $1 a month and that allows me to continue doing these things, and it motivates me to not only stay up till 2:30 in the morning recording these videos for you, but it also motivates me to pressure my friends like Dalton from Risky Rollers to come and help me record these things until 2:30 in the morning. So a huge thank you to Dalton, a huge thank you to my Patreons, and make sure you check out the next video coming up in this series. I've gone through and I've done one for each Chaos God as well as one for the Undivided and the Disciples of Be'lakor. So there's going to be a few videos coming out over the next couple of days. Make sure you like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of them. And with that being said, I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Do your objective markers ever get lost behind terrain or other models and become difficult to see? Do they ever get bumped and accidentally moved during a game? And do they ever spark arguments about distances? Well, not anymore. Introducing the blog for the Blood God, not even remotely patented neoprene objective markers. Made from the same material as astronaut suits, or maybe military equipment, or probably neither of those things, this 2mm thick neoprene synthetic rubber is tear resistant, water resistant, and is designed to last. But that's not all. The blog for the Blood God, not even remotely patented neoprene objective markers come in a variety of different designs and styles to suit any faction represented in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. These objective markers are a perfect gift for yourself or a friend, and are a perfect way to flex and show your opponent that not only are you a smarter, cooler, and better 40k player than them, but you also have more disposable income than they do. For the low price of $25, you'll get not one, not two, but 6 neoprene objective markers, perfectly designed for 9th edition Warhammer 40k. But wait, there's more. For a limited time only, people who sign up on Patreon to support Blog for the Blood God as a Skull Champion tier $5 per month member will gain access to a custom design service where I will design a unique logo to support their gaming club, like the one I did to the left here for the Potato Farmers local gaming club here in Melbourne. Follow the links in the description of this video to pick up your set today.